Lee Summit is your destination for big city vibes and small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura, and this is your flash briefing for the week of May 12th. City Council meet for regular session Tuesday night, 6 in Council Chambers in City Hall. Meetings are open to the public or watched live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. Celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Lee Summit Fire Department at a fun-filled open house on May 17th from 9 a.m. to noon at Fire Station Number 2, located at 2000 Northeast Rice Road. Bring the whole family to tour the fire station and walk through an inflatable house to learn about fire safety. Don't miss this opportunity to honor their legacy and join the celebration. The first summer concert at Rock the Amp has been booked. Grab your tickets to see Foo Fighters, a tribute to Foo Fighters on May 31st at 7 p.m. at the Legacy Park Amphitheater. They are a highly sought-after act known for delivering an authentic live experience. Get tickets at rocktheamp.net. And sign up for LS Aware, the city's free mass notification system. It can alert residents about a variety of events, ranging from severe weather and other emergencies to more routine announcements such as road closures and water utility maintenance. Messages will be sent to residents on their preferred communication device. You choose how to be notified. Learn more at lsaware.net. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Officers en route, 914, armed robbery.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour.
This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work. Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook, just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift, as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better. And that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we had doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bringing your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care and the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. That's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief at Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divide it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
I really love living in our historic downtown. I walk my dog around. The shops take her for, they do pub cups at Poppy's, so you can get ice cream with a little dog biscuit in it, which is her favorite thing in the world. My neighbors, we have block parties together. I really like how welcoming and how vibrant it is. It's an amazing place to live. Lee Summit's a really great community. I love living here, and I just wanted to try to find a way to give back. look out for my neighbors, for the community. I've always tried to be involved. Before serving on City Council, I used to volunteer with AFS, which is an organization that hosts foreign exchange students. So my husband and I have hosted kids from around the world and then also volunteered with local families and schools. In my professional life, I'm a paralegal, and then in my personal life, I enjoy reading, sewing. I'm a quilter, so I just finished a log cabin quilt that I'm going to send to my aunt out in DC. I can't claim any of our council accomplishments for myself. This is always a team effort. But I am really excited about the farmers market and event space that we have coming in. It's still in the design phases, but I think it's going to be a really beautiful space, and it's going to really continue keeping our downtown thriving. It's been in progress for a long time, but I think that people are going to really love it when it's done. I think one of my top priorities is going to be attainable housing. That, for example, I've been trying to find a place for my mom in Lee Summit. And it's really challenging finding something that really works for a retiree who doesn't have a huge budget. Just trying to make it more attainable for people no matter where they're at in their lives to be a part of our community. Community is what we make it. Everybody should get involved in whatever way they can, whether that's just voting or whether it's joining a board or a commission or even running for office. But they say the world is run by those who show up. So get involved however you can and make a difference in the community.
Welcome, everyone. Would you please rise for the invocation and stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together in service to our community. Grant us wisdom in our decisions, clarity in our discussions, and kindness in our words. May our work today reflect respect and a shared purpose for the good of all. Guide us with your peace and bless the efforts we make together. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome, everyone. I'm calling to order the City of Lee Summit regular session number 37. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Councilmember Rader.
Present.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Shields. Councilmember Funk.
Present.
Councilmember Lovell.
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
And Mayor Baird.
Here. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. But before we do that, hold on. I need to do some agenda management. Item 8B needs some work. Staff needs to work on this ordinance regarding the installation of office furniture at the substation. So we were trying to get that finalized so that the furniture could be ordered, but they need to fix this ordinance. So I'd like to remove that from the agenda. And then I need someone to approve the agenda as adopted, that is. I have a motion to adopt the agenda as adopted by Councilmember Hodges, seconded, as amended, that is, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Oh, I'm sorry. All votes are not in.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
Councilmember Rader?
Aye.
Aye? She's an aye. Thank you. All right. Next is the approval of the consent agenda. I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Pryor. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. Councilmember Rader?
Aye.
Aye? Yep. All votes are in. Please record the vote. The consent agenda is adopted unanimously. Thank you. And then that takes us to council roundtable. These are items of general interest, things going on in the community, in your district maybe. Anybody got anything to share tonight? Okay, no worries. We've got some cool things to talk about. We've got a couple of proclamations. I believe we'll start with the National Police Week. So if I could have everybody's here for that, we're going to congregate out in front of the dais here, and I'm going to read the proclamation and take a photo. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to start with the proclamation. Whereas federal, state, local, and tribal police officers, sheriffs, and other law enforcement officers across the United States serve with valor, dignity, and integrity, and whereas law enforcement officers swear an oath to uphold the public trust even though through the performance of the duties of a law enforcement officer, the officers may become targets for senseless acts of violence. And whereas in 1962, President John Fitzgerald Kennedy signed public law which authorizes the President to proclaim May 15 of every year as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of the federal, state, and local officers who have been killed, disabled, and otherwise injured in the line of duty. Whereas the joint resolution also authorizes the President to designate the week in which Peace Officers Memorial Day falls as National Police Week. And whereas National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, dedicated on October 15, 1991, is the national monument to honor those law enforcement officers who have died in the line of duty. Whereas Peace Officers Memorial Day 2025 honors the 147 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty in 2024, including 4 Missouri officers. By virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lee Summit, I do hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week. Got a great crew here. Thank you all for coming. I'll start with Chief Forbes. Would you like to say a few words, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. We try to celebrate National Police Week in honor of all the work that these men and women do every day. But in the back of our mind, it's sobering to think about officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty as well. They're not just numbers. They're people with family members, and they gave the ultimate sacrifice. So that's always in the back of our mind. Thursday night, Thursday at 4 at Journey Church, we'll be having the award ceremony. So we get to honor a lot of these folks in this room and in this department. So it's 4 o'clock, I think. 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. Glad I said something?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. Got a ride for you anyway.
I have it on my calendar, but I haven't.
Sounds good. So I don't know, do you want everybody to introduce themselves? Josh?
Josh Patterson, Captain in Operations.
Mike Murray, Captain.
Aaron Evans, Sergeant.
Patrol Officer Brandon Breedlove.
Nicole Walters, Major.
Brett Sinclair, I'm a detective.
Traffic Officer Dixon Ethington.
FT Officer Brian Gilbert.
Kerry Colon, I'm the Operations Major.
Detective Chad Albin.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. This is going to make a great photo op, Cheryl, so. Hey, guys, scoot together. Yeah, scoot in. Would you all? Okay, thank you all again. Okay, next we have National Public Works Week. I'm sure we have some Public Works employees, administrative people here. If you would, please. Oh, come over here. Somebody come over here. Thank you. All right. Okay, whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Lee Summit. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of Lee Summit to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. The year 2025 marks the 65th Annual Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, and this year's theme is People, Purpose, Presence. By virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lee Summit, I hereby proclaim May 18 through 24, 2025 as National Public Works Week. Tell you what, that was a little bit of a challenge there because I had the P's and the W's going. If you would have thrown the water department in there, it would have been waterworks. So, no, that was really good. I always call the public works and the things that you do for infrastructure, you're the pillars of City Hall, the foundation. So, would you like to say a few words, sir?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of over 100 of us public works professionals serving our community, I'm very proud of the way they do their business. And it's more than just public works. You see, we got Director Thorne here from Water Utilities. There's a lot that contribute to public works, not just roads and storm sewers, but also water and sewer and solid waste, and there's a lot of folks behind the scenes. And we really take this moment to celebrate Public Works, create that public awareness, because usually the only time you notice us is when something's not happening right. And so it's a good time to take out of the year to say, you know what, we recognize these good folks, all the hard work they do, and both of our agencies are accredited. You know, we've been accredited now for 20 years in Public Works, and so you have a very strong staff working on your behalf for the City of Lee Summit.
Jeff Thorne, Director of Water.
Mike Anderson, Deputy Director, Operations.
Perry Allen, Construction Manager.
George Binger, City Engineer.
Sarah Shore, Assistant Director for Public Works Administration.
All right, thank you. We do appreciate all that you do for us. And I know it's often unseen, but we as council definitely know what all you do, so thank you. Thank you all. All right, we had the pillars of the community, and then the guardians of the city over here, and then somewhere there's the hometown heroes. The fire is in there somewhere. There's the fire. Okay, well, we've got some business to get to tonight. Oh, we don't? Oh my gosh, you're right. We have the presentations for the 2025 Leadership Academy graduation recognition. So Miss Tricia Fowler-Curry, our city clerk, I think is going to lead the way on this. What kind of help do you need? Who do you need to come up here with you?
I'm just going to call them up here and have them
Okay.
come up,
Very good.
and I'll say a few words.
Yeah, we'll get you a microphone.
That'll work.
Mr. Dunning, you want to help her hand them out?
Let's see. So I think we should be good. So I'm just going to give them these little certificates. Yep, I'm good. I'll call them up and give them their certificates, and then I'll talk a little bit about the academy. So if I call your name, hey, looks like I've got a good attendance from here tonight. I'm Christina Bailey. He also works for police. When they're there with the
Mr. Dunning, can you hand them out so Tricia can talk?
Sure.
Yeah, please.
All right.
All right, so start over. We had,
All right. Christina Bailey.
there we go.
Beverly Barron.
All right.
Garrett Denzer. Sherry Frazier. Catherine Harris. James Kaltoff. Lisa Kieser. Ingrid McNicholas. Stephen McNicholas. Bruce McSpadden. Sheila Naninga. I know I'm going to slaughter your name. I'm so sorry. I say it in my head 1,000 times, but I'm still not going to say it right. Susan Sevier. She's right here. Ryan Smith. And Crystal Suddeth. So I'll just say a few words. So the first Lee Summit Leadership Academy began in January 2011 in response to a suggestion from the LS360 group. The Academy has been held every year since then except for 2015 and 2021 and 2024. This is the 12th graduating class, so congratulations on being the 12th graduating class. The 2025 Citizens Leadership Academy began on Saturday, January 11th, here at City Hall, where they were met by city staff, council members and CLA alumni. We took some time to learn about each other and kind of a broad overview of the class. But I'm guessing they really didn't know what they were in for at that first class. But we did have a guest speaker at that first class, which was Mr. Fred Grogan from the History Museum. He did a class on Lee Summit and provided some information on Lee Summit then and now. The class then met at several city facilities, including the police department, animal control, water facility, Fire Station 7, maintenance facility, and the Gamber Center, and then eventually they came back here to City Hall, where they were given an opportunity to tour each one of these facilities and get a behind-the-scenes look at. So not only did they get to see what we did, but they got to see where we did that. Most of them did take the time to take the tours and learn even more about each of those facilities. Each of these citizens gave up 8 of their Saturday mornings to come spend time with the various city staff members to become more knowledgeable and engaged in their community and learn probably more than they ever thought possible about topics from police, planning and development, structure of government, city charter, community building, animal control, public works operations, water operations, public safety, codes administration, finance and economic development, fleet and snow operations, creative service, parks and recreations, all the way meeting and they got to also, all the way to the meeting decorum, I'm sorry. And they got to learn how well Mayor Barrett actually does at running the city meetings, and how important that is, and how Mayor Barrett's done such a great job these past several years at the meetings. I cannot say that the mock city council meeting that we held the same decorum that we hold at the city council meetings on a weekly basis, but we did have a good time, and I do believe that everyone here has a new respect for all of the city council members and for staff, and for what we do every day and every week at a city council meeting. I do appreciate you taking the time to recognize those who have taken time out of their lives to learn more about the city and become ambassadors on our behalf. And I do hope to see them become more active in our community as volunteers, or one of the many members of our boards and commissions, or possibly even a future city council member, as we have had council members that have gone through this program. Councilmember Funk actually is a graduate of the CLA. I also want to
And
thank-
Councilmember Carlisle.
And Carla, I'm sorry. My bad. I want to thank all of the staff that helped make this year a huge success again, because it took a lot of work with everyone. And I hope I don't forget anyone. I've tried to write down everybody that was there. So starting with the first class, not the first meeting, but the first actual class, Chief Forbes, Amy Nassif, Shannon McGuire, Sue Piles, Mark Dunning, Brian Head, Rodney Wagner, Madison Moles, Michael Park, Dom Bennett, Brent Boyce, Chief Snyder, Assistant Chief Eden, Jamila Crawford, Jessica Asher, Tracy Deister, Brianna Burrichter, David Bushek, Ryan Elam, Mark Stinson, Sean Graff, Cheryl Nash, Joe Snook, Crystal Weber, and Jeff Thorne. That was just the staff that was there. We also had council members that came and met with them, and also did the city council meeting with them. That shows in all the excellent feedback that we got from the classes, from those that participated, and they see the passion that each one of the staff members has for what they do for the city. And not only for this program to be successful, for the city to be successful too. And lastly, but certainly not leastly, are my thanks to the participants of this academy, because obviously this wouldn't be a thing without you. Thank you for the participants for giving your time, and not just attending, but actively participating, asking the good questions, getting the information. I appreciate you. I know staff appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you all out there doing great things in the community. And thank you, Mayor, thank you, Council, for giving us the time to recognize all of them. And thank you, Fred. Thank you.
Okay, everyone has to scoot in a little bit, or a lot of it. Hold on, almost there. Daryl, I need professional help. No, you can do it. All right, ready? 1, 2. Congrats, guys. Thank you.
Okay. How many weeks is it? 8 weeks. Yeah, that's a big commitment. That's wonderful. Thank you to everyone, the graduates, and Tricia. Thank you for putting on such a great class, and staff, Mr. Dunning, for making your staff available. It's fantastic. Okay. We will go to the next item on the agenda then, and this would be a presentation for the fiscal years 2026 through 2030 for the Capital Improvement Plan, the CIP, you often hear say, in accordance with the City of Lee Summit's charter. So Mr. Park, Michael Park, is here to make that presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Baird. Michael Park, Director of Public Works, and tonight we're happy to present the Capital Improvement Plan, or CIP, for FY26 through FY30. And you'll see as I go through this presentation, I'm just going to highlight a few of the important key aspects of the CIP, but also in your packets are the full CIP for reference. The CIP is a planning document. It's 5-year CIP that is fiscally constrained. So what you see in the CIP is projects we intend to construct because they have money associated to them. It covers roads, water, sewer, building facilities, parks, IT networks. And anything that is a project of a size $75,000 or more will find its way into the CIP, and that's just based on our local practice and procurement policy. By state statutory definition, public capital improvements need to be in a plan, and so we take this plan to the Planning Commission. They adopt it. It becomes part of our comprehensive plan, but it's also referenced in our city charter, which is why we're here tonight to present this as part of the budget and for your approval by resolution. So what does the charter say must be in there? Well, a summary of contents lists all the capital improvements that are proposed to be undertaken in this 5-year fiscal period, as well as the supporting information related to each of those projects, cost estimates, methods of financing, and such. And you'll see all that level of detail in this very large document that's on the city's website. We began this process last November. It's a long process that we go through every year, working with the Public Works Committee, and I appreciate all their hard work that's gone into preparation of this year's CIP, as well as all the staff from my department and every other department in the city that has projects related to the CIP. We then work as staff to prepare a CIP, coming back to the Public Works Committee up to this point in various touch points. There's a public comment forum that was advertised in March, end of March through most of April. Just as a point of reference, we are accelerating this process by about a month due to our ERP implementation and the accelerated budget schedule, because we want these to come together at the same time. But we only received one public comment through this public comment period, and it was really unrelated to the CIP itself. It had to do with wasteful federal dollar spends. With that, we also had a public hearing at the Planning Commission. I'll mention that, but we didn't have any public testimony at that meeting either. And so then we went back to the Public Works Committee with kind of this final draft in April, and then presented a summary report to the City Council that very next night. And that was just a written report of what the Public Works Committee and staff had prepared as a recommended plan that was advertised. Some highlights here, we're working on $440+ million worth of work that was funded through FY26. That includes prior years, so sometimes we have to build a balance for a project to be carried out. The overall CIP is actually larger than it was last year, and I thought last year's was the largest CIP we had. We're approaching $800 million over this 5-year period. So very proud of what our voters have supported through whether it be bond issues or sales tax issues, which really comprise most of the CIP, to collectively create this $792 million budget for a 5-year period. Over the last year, we completed 21 projects. Those are projects not just in construction, but actually finished last year, 21 projects, so put into service. That work totaled over $30 million. New projects added into this CIP, 27 new projects from 26 through 2030. And those 27 new projects accumulate to over $68 million worth of new work that's been added. Something else that's not shown here as a highlight, but is very, I think, important for us to mention is that in this CIP, there's over $77 million in federal grants that are associated with projects. That's a pretty good percentage of the overall $800 million CIP. Here's just a snapshot of the various categories that you'll see in the CIP and their funding associated with each fiscal year. That's FY26 through FY30. And so as I mentioned, we went to the Planning Commission, held a public hearing. The Planning Commission unanimously supported and approved the comprehensive plan amendment. And now we're here this evening for a resolution after I conclude the presentation. And the first year of the CIP is incorporated into the FY26 budget. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Questions or discussion from council? This goes through Public Works and Planning Commission. How many Public Works meetings did it take to get through this?
So I believe we had 3 Public Works meetings this time. Normally we would have had a 4th, but we cut our schedule by a month. And so that 4th meeting is usually a summary of the public comment period just before advertising for this meeting and completing the budget process.
Okay. Can you comment on how this process has changed since we did do the large no tax increase bond versus the years that we did all the small ones?
Yeah, so we have a lot of larger projects in the CIP. And I'll say from the standpoint of, the process, and we go through this in our meetings with Public Works Committee, there's also this conversation of how does a project get into the CIP? A lot of that legwork happens when we go out to the voters for a bond issue or when we go out to the voters for a CIP sales tax and we reference our long-range plans and our emerging needs and we have that conversation and prioritize what we want. Then we go to the voters. If they're successful, then we put them in here. So a lot of what you see in the CIP is what I like to refer to as putting icing on a baked cake. We're sequencing, we're prioritizing, but the whole list of projects is already somewhat dictated by voter approvals. There's a little bit of room in there, but the no tax increase bond issue that passed in April of 2023, every project that was passed in that bond issue is currently in the CIP or already done. So we're making great progress with regard to that most recent bond issue.
Yeah, but my question was, how is it different with having so many large, because otherwise, what's one of the largest ones?
So of our...
Because we've got some that are far in excess of 5 million.
Oh, yeah, most of the projects in our 2023 no tax increase bond issue exceed $5 million apiece. Some major projects are like joint operation facility that's under construction. It will be when you consider all the elements of that.
That one's 35 million.
Yeah, there's 35 million in that. A large road project we haven't even begun, but we've done the alignment study. We're getting ready to kick off the design is sheer road reconstruction and the sheer road alignment so we know where.
Yeah, how much is that one?
And so that project in itself is over $35 million. So yes, there are some very large projects that are underway.
I guess my point is the citizens by passing this really helped us plan for really not just 5 years from now, but 10, 15, 20 years from now by.
That's correct.
By allowing us to do that. So.
Yeah, there's been a vision of successful growth, I believe, in the CIP.
Yeah. Okay. Council members, anything? All right. Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. It's the Tricia Fowler Curry night. So would you please read the resolution number 2512?
Resolution number 2512, a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2026, fiscal year 2030 Capital Improvement Plan CIP in accordance with the City of Lee Summit Charter.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt resolution number 2512 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you all. Thanks for all the hard work on that. Public Works, Planning Commission, staff. Okay, next we're going to go to public hearings. Oh, are you up there just setting things up?
Ready to go.
All right. We're going to close the regular session and open the public hearing in the matter of the city manager's budget for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026. The City of Lee Summit is obviously the presenter, Mr. Dunning, Mr. Stoyanov, Mr. Gentry. Would all those wishing to speak to this matter please rise and be sworn in by the city clerk?
To tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, Mark Dunning, City Manager. With this being a budget presentation, I'll just note we don't have any exhibits to enter. The budget is actually advertised in accordance with the public hearing notices, so the public hearing notice did go out. And just as Mr. Park represented with the CIP, this is an annual plan that we put into place. You'll see the CIP represented within this budget, and per city charter, the city manager is to prepare an annual budget and the capital plan, the capital improvements plan, and deliver that to the city council. So I'll be carrying a portion of this presentation, but a heavy lift has been accomplished by Rick Gentry and Eric Stoyanov, our budget team, budget managers. They'll play a part in this. Chief Forbes, Chief Snyder will play a part with the public safety sales tax. And then, so we'll tag team this presentation. It won't be as short as the CIP, but we'll try to get through this pretty quickly. I would note that, and I share this every year, and I'll share it again. In my view, the budget is the biggest plan or policy that we put into place annually to forecast what do we hope to achieve in the next year and where are we heading. So this is one of the biggest decisions that we as a community make, and the staff and the council are making determinations on where to allocate resources. And that's a big proposal, and it takes a lot of time to put into this annual budget. So here's our brief agenda. We want to connect our efforts, our budget, to our strategic plan, our initiatives. I want to hit on the priorities that came out of the council retreat, and again, connect resources to what we're doing in those spaces. We'll talk about general fund. That is our most flexible fund. We spoke about this at the Finance and Budget Committee. Those revenues that are general fund are the most flexible funds that we can allocate and direct towards whatever initiatives we can. The other funds are more restricted. You'll see that when we get to that portion of the presentation. So we'll spend probably more time on the general fund than we will on the other funds, because those are a little narrower lane in which those revenues and funds can be used for. Then we'll recap and then talk about next steps. So leading off, the community strategic plan is what we as staff take guidance from. And when we ask ourselves, should we pursue something different, we need to put it through this filter, right? And what you're seeing here is what we call our 7 critical success factors from our strategic plan. And so we ask ourselves, if we take on these initiatives, do they fit within this plan? That's what the community and the council directed us as staff to put priorities towards. So you can see those 7 critical success factors there. The city is not the leader in every one of those, but we play a part in every one of those. Our vision, I should reference this, our vision for our strategic plan for the community. It's a vibrant community ensuring the finest quality of life for all generations. And I share this with new employees, and I'll share it with the community, is that you never know whether we actually achieve that. We don't have a thermometer in the lobby here at City Hall saying we're 85% there. It's a continuous improvement statement intentionally, so that we're always striving to do better and to create that vibrant community for quality of life for all. Our mission statement, to enrich lives in our community through collaboration, creativity, and commitment. That's another one that I share with new employees as we bring them on. And I've got another slide that I'll connect that to here in a moment. But that to me talks about the approach that we take to our work. So here's our strategic plan telling us what should we be striving for, and then I lean on our mission statement and our core values here that you see before you as to how do we go about achieving that. So we do that through what I call SIS. That's our core values, stewardship of our resources. That is critical. Delivering, aim high and deliver, service excellence. We want to provide the best that we can with the resources we have available, and then do it in a way that we're doing the right thing always, with integrity. So SIS, core values, and then the 3 C's, collaboration, creativity, and commitment. You mix those together, that talks about our approach to our work, and I encourage you all, new employees, every one of us, the community, to hold us accountable to that approach, those values. So we intentionally bring that every time we bring budget, and we have the opportunity to share those from the strategic plan. So here we go with our council goals, our council priorities that came out of the retreat. And I'll speak briefly about each one of these because they're all in motion. With regard to beautification, we had the presentation here at the council, and we started dividing that into what can the public sector do and take ownership of, and what can we lean on the private sector to help us with. So motions are in place to develop that plan and approach to beautification. Solid waste, that's contracted services, right? We talked about issuing the 2-year notice, and so things are in motion in that space. Stormwater, there's discussions taking place at Public Works Committee about what level of service do we want to achieve through a stormwater utility, and that equates to what amount of resources might we need in order to accomplish that. So things are in motion in that space as well. The one that you will be seeing probably next month is housing. Now, I would say housing's been in motion for quite some time, but it hasn't been kind of under this collective umbrella. It's kind of been piecemealed here and there, and we're bringing it together under one umbrella, with this being a priority. So we will be bringing housing discussion forward to you likely next month, because we've had a lot on our plate thus far. So budget and resources and efforts tied to council priorities. We want to make that connection. Now, these were just, we called them the big rocks at the time, the 4 major priorities. I want to touch on some of the medium rocks or next level priorities, and then we called them sand, so other things that we should be focused on. So that medium level, board and commission appointment processes, Charter Review Commission. I shared, I think Chair Shields at Rules Committee already brought through a Charter Review Commission timeline and process. So we've already got that playbook in place to achieve that, because in 2027, that's when the Charter Review Commission would put forth any proposed amendments to the charter. Public safety is a priority. That was a statement and a medium goal. Internal and external communications. I'll touch on some efforts we'll put towards communications in that space. Another medium level one was sidewalks in general, and then downtown infrastructure, and that's pretty well connected within our CIP. If you dive into the details, Mr. Park flew very high level, but you'll see a lot of that in our CIP. And then the sand was elected official training, orientation, onboarding, and connection to what we're doing as an organization. So we have a lot of thoughts in that space, and we know in April of 26, we'll be having some new elected officials, because that'll be the next municipal election. Wanted to see visible tax dollars going out in this community. You just heard Mr. Park talk about how much we've had the biggest CIP in ever, and so you'll be seeing a lot of that come to fruition through the CIP. And that's not just infrastructure, that's brick and mortar buildings through that no tax increase bond issue. And then the last one in that area was just better education about our processes. So think street overlays, curb replacements, things of that nature, and I know those presentations came through Public Works recently as well. So we hope that we're hitting on all the targets that we sought that guidance from you from that retreat, and I wanted to reflect that in our presentation with how we went about our budget. So here's an explanation of our funds, and I mentioned general fund is our most flexible. Generally comes through 3 major buckets, right? Sales tax, property tax, and franchise fees, but there's others. And so we'll spend a lot of time in the general fund area, and then we'll get into special revenue funds. So think public safety sales tax. That's a narrower lane. Those revenues, or those revenues to be used for public safety. I also think about business and industry fund. That's in that space, right? A dedicated revenue stream for that. And I also think about our solid waste post-closure fund, right? Those are special revenue funds that we need to keep separate. Debt service funds, those are general geo debt that we are servicing. Capital funds, you just heard the Capital Improvements Plan. That's what that's for. Enterprise funds is one where we set up intentionally things like water utilities. When we get to enterprise funds, you'll see water utilities is not funded by general revenue. It's through rates and charges for water that we fund that business unit, if you will. We set up the airport similarly, and then a portion of parks is enterprise funds as well. And then the last one, internal service funds, that's where we have our own IT workforce, finance, folks like that, our fleet, our central building services to support all of these department operations. And if you're an enterprise fund, then that you come together in that same pool. And so we mix enterprise funds with general revenue funds. And so we created this internal service funds to service all of that. So those are brief explanations of our different funds. As you can see here, total budget all in, almost $380 million. You can see the general fund there at over $100 million. I will say that's the first time that I know of that we've anticipated budgeted for over $100 million in revenue. Now you can look at FY25 amended budget. That's because it was amended. We reallocated some funds from general fund reserve towards certain things, and so that's why you see that over 112. But quite honestly, when we budgeted and brought the plan forward, I believe it was around 98 million. So first time we've seen over 100 million in general fund. Some notes here, you'll see the capital projects funds is lower, but that's just based on the cycles of the projects coming through. You could say the same with debt service funds, but so you'll see some differences in there, and that's the reasoning behind those. So general fund budget. So think, if we're thinking like in the development world, this is our sources and uses. So you can see there from a general fund perspective, the majority of that, 32%, is coming through property taxes, then sales taxes behind that at 28%. I mentioned franchise tax. It used to be our third biggest. It's not anymore. It's 14% now. So other revenue, think other revenue would be like grants, things of that nature that we receive. And then charges for services, or think building permit fees and things of that nature that we collect. So that's how we get to our revenues. Then we wanted to break this down, slice the pie, kind of based on council priorities and initiatives. So public safety is a priority. You can see 55% of the general funds dedicated towards public safety. The general government, so think finance, law, administration, some of those services is in that general government services. And then public works. And I'll connect this one back to our citizen survey that we recently did. Wanting to maintain the infrastructure that we have and our facilities and things of that nature. So you can see those broken out in that way. It's just a slice of the pie to represent what portions of the general fund are dedicated toward what initiatives. Okay, so here's some strategic investments, and some of these will connect back to our capital improvements plan, such as Green Street. That's a $44 million project that we're nearing completion on. I'm happy to report that through our budgeting process, and you'll hear me talk about this later, that we'll hopefully be able to do that without issuing debt. So that's a pretty amazing project that's come on board. The police substation should be, I want to say, it should be completed this year. That's a $3.2 million no tax increase bond issue project that we'll achieve this year. Workday transitions, another heavy lift, especially on behalf of our ITS department, our finance department, and our human resources department. That's our financial backbone to everything that we do here as an organization. Every department's impacted by this. That, again, was a no tax increase bond issue project. I think of this as a critical piece of infrastructure that helps us be successful. When I add that up, that's about a $7.4 million initiative to put that in place. Pay and growth plan is one that came through. You've heard me talk about ASR, attraction, satisfaction, retention efforts to do a pay and growth plan. And I'll talk a little bit about how we plan to achieve that in this coming budget year, but the way that we propose to fund that. Within this budget, we have a 4% merit increase for core general with a 2% range movement. Now, that doesn't mean that all employees realize a 6% increase. It's 4% merit. Our ranges will move 2%. So it doesn't please everybody, but it is what we found the market is moving towards. And we feel that if we don't move those ranges, then we fall further behind if we're going to do this pay and growth plan. And then another big one is a joint operations facility and phase 2 PD and court renovation. If I add that up, that's another about $42 million initiative over there on we'll call it our public safety campus that we're seeking to deliver. When I think about investments, it's investments out in the community, but it's also investments in us as a workforce. And I always say I think our people are our biggest asset, our biggest piece of infrastructure to put in place so that we are successful for this community. So you'll see a mix there between investment in the organization and our employees, and then out into the community as well. A couple things I'll note on this slide that we're pursuing too, because they are strategic, is we have an approach to our GIS platform. So many departments are utilizing GIS and the data that provides. And we want to take a step back and say, what is our strategy for GIS? How should we be approaching GIS? Because there is so much use of that with the data that's available. So we are proposing to do a GIS strategy, about $50,000 to get that done. We're proposing to fund that out of the fiscal year 25 budget based on where we anticipate we'd end the fiscal year 25. And I'll mention some more as we think about how to approach all these initiatives. Another one in that same space kind of ties to internal-external communications is a communication strategy. It's been years since we put in place creative services under this thought that we can do better in that space. And a lot of means of communication have evolved over time, and so we feel it's time to take a look at that and think about the strategy in that space too. So that one we propose to fund, and we already received the approval from Finance and Budget and Council to utilize general fund reserve revenues to make that happen. So that's another one, strategic investment and initiative that we will be pursuing. So here's where I want to pull back before I talk about what you see on the screen here and share some information. Overall this year in the budget requests that came through, there was over 5.7 million requested in expansion requests. We certainly couldn't make that happen in preparing this budget. So what do? We take a look at where we hope to end fiscal year 25. And as we look at that, I always say, are we in an opportunity area, or do we need to hold tight with where we're at with budget, or do we need to tighten the belt with budget? And I'm happy to report we're in an opportunity zone, if you will, with where we're at with fiscal year 25. So when we look at the expansion request, then we ask ourselves, what might we be able to achieve that is one-time in nature, so they're not ongoing costs, that we could use fiscal year 25 resources to put in motion during fiscal year 26. So does that make sense? In many ways, we're working in two budgets at the same time. So here's some of those opportunities that we identified that we could accomplish through doing a budget amendment for fiscal year 25. The pay and growth plan and career ladders is one that we can fund out of fiscal year 25 budget, but make happen in this year. That's $500,000 to get through. That's a big lift to get through. The Green Street project that I mentioned, and I misrepresented this at Finance and Budget. I need to clarify this. $840,000. I referenced that would be going towards operations. That'd be a capital. That would fully fund what we need to get that project done, without having to issue special obligation bonds or service debt. So that would be included in that as well. Some of the smaller items, we need Central Building Services will need a gator, a small vehicle to do snow plowing and service. I'll call this the civic campus. We don't want to put snow plows on this nice public plaza out there. So fund a gator out of that for Central Building Services. And then within Public Works, keeping our infrastructure and our right-of-way looking nice. We need a new sign printer to do all the street signs. That's $22,000. And all these attachments are pieces of equipment that would help maintain the right-of-way. A mulcher attachment, a chipper attachment, and a wheel saw for pavement. So we could pull all those forward out of the fiscal year 25 resources and make those happen. In addition, I mentioned the GIS study and the communications strategy. So those are things that, in our approach to this budget, we could pull forward, and we would do a budget amendment for that. So now I'll turn and focus towards these expansions for fiscal year 26 budget expansions. We are putting in the budget in administration $250,000 as a placeholder for World Cup. We're still in the fact-finding mode of World Cup, but we know we're going to need resources. So we've put in $250,000 as things become clear for World Cup. We know that's coming. We know we need to be prepared for it. So shame on us if we don't think we need to allocate resources or funding towards that initiative. I mentioned Central Building Services and the Gator. We need to bring on a facilities maintenance worker for this campus that we're building out here to keep that in a quality condition. So that's one we're recommending an expansion for. Human Resources Employee Referral Program, this was an ASR initiative. The thought being, if we had some kind of incentive program where employees could refer quality employees, and you'd have to meet quite a bit of criteria in order for that referral to be realized, then we ought to try that. So that's a pilot program at $13,000 just to see if that does help in our attraction and recruitment of a workforce. In the ITS space, cybersecurity software. Last year we funded a cybersecurity manager, so here we are equipping that manager with the tools in order to protect our networks and infrastructure in that cybersecurity space. And then data backup software, that's connected to our Microsoft 365 conversion. That also connects back to kind of security of our systems as well. The three law enforcement ones here, you see an asterisk by, and you see an amount, but then there's no budget. So working with Chief Forbes and the police department, they have certain needs that they need within the department as they've grown over time. And so as large as that department is, not all the positions get filled. And so our approach here was, let's be flexible in what positions you bring on, but let's not increase the budget. So the thought here is work within your budget, but if you can fill these positions and you need them, fill them, just work your vacancies. And so that's why you see that represented that way. So we're not increasing the budget, but allowing that flexibility to bring on those positions to fill those needs. This will connect back to the public safety sales tax presentation when Chief Forbes presents that to you as well. So that's the approach there. In the public works space, last year we expanded by 2 apprentice operators. Their request was 4 with a vehicle. So we're completing that team, if you will, for right-of-way management, snow operations, connects to beautification goal. And quite honestly, this ties back to the citizen survey as well, as we want to see our infrastructure, streets, and things maintained in a quality condition. So that's a listing of our general fund expansions that came through that process. And like I mentioned, some of those we identified we could pull forward into the fiscal year 25 budget. I should note here too, what is not represented here though, but is within the budget, is being mindful of ongoing operational expenses. As we bring on Green Street project, that's additional utilities and services needed over there. As we bring on the South Substation, that's an additional facilities. We bring on Joint Operations Facility. We need to plan for that. So that's within the budget, but you don't see it here in expansions, but we are being mindful of that as well. Okay, I think now is the point in time where I turn it over to Eric, covers revenues for us, and so I'll turn it over to Eric, and we'll keep proceeding. Oh, I should mention, feel free to ask questions at any point in time as we're going through these. Happy to take those as we go through the slides.
Thank you.
Good evening, Eric Stoyanov, Budget Manager. So here are the tax revenues for the general fund, as Mr. Dunning had talked about. This represents about 80% of our revenues. And so our biggest category is property tax. We have 2 years of actuals, projection, and then the 26 budget. For 2026, we're projecting a 3.5% increase over the FY25 projection. For property tax, the big question mark that we have this year is the senior property tax credit program. We just haven't gotten much information on it yet. Jackson County has told us that we should get more information around November. So it's just a big question mark for us. So we do feel like we're being on the conservative side with the 3.5%, but that's the big looming question when it comes to property tax. When they provided their preliminary assessment information, I think it was 41,000 applications in Jackson County as a total. They didn't break out how many were in Lee Summit in particular, but the impact is to be determined. On the sales tax front, we are projecting a 2.5% increase for the FY26 budget compared to projection. Right now, our sales and use tax is up just under 2% for FY25, and so our growth just hasn't been as high as it had been in recent years. This the marijuana tax, the 3% additional tax on adult non-recreational marijuana, or non-medical recreational marijuana. So that helps in that category as well. Franchise tax, projecting just a modest 1.3% growth here. The biggest drivers here are really electric and natural gas. Telephone and cable are also in here, but they've been steadily declining, so it's really natural gas and electric that drive growth here. And then motor vehicle tax. So we're projecting 6% growth in this category. Really the big one here is the fuel tax is increasing 9% on July 1st again. This is the final planned increase for that fuel tax. But since the state has started increasing fuel tax regularly, we've really seen a boost in the motor vehicle, projecting about 3.5% increase on the sales tax front in motor vehicle. And so this shows just the trend overall for tax revenue. You can see pretty general just growth. The main difference here is that motor vehicle, still a small percentage, but it has increased from 6 to 8% of this tax revenue category. So increased slightly just as fuel taxes helped out. And here are our other revenues. So these make about the remaining 20% of the revenues in the budget. Fines and forfeitures, we're projecting just flat on this. When you look at our long-term trends, we actually do average about 0% growth. It's just a volatile. Some years we're up, some years we're down, and so we stuck with just flat. Licenses and permits, for FY25, we did see a little bit of a down year in terms of licenses and permits. We're expecting modest growth again in 26, but nothing too substantial. Intergovernmental, that's where those grants and things live. Charges for service is a big category for us. So this has our EMS dispatch contracts, our ambulance fees, communication tower leases, and we're projecting 2.5% growth roughly. And then other revenue, that includes our other taxes, our cigarette tax, our intangible tax, refunds and reimbursements. A big one here is the ground emergency medical transport program that we participate in with fire, where we were reimbursed for uncompensated expenses for ambulance transport. So that's a big one there. Investment earnings is just our interest earnings overall in our portfolio, and then our transfers in. That's the G&A that water utilities pays, and also our administrative fee for B&I. And so this is just looking total revenues, projecting about 3%. Again, the big takeaway here on the revenue side is just there's a lot of uncertainty right now. And so we took that into account and hoping that as the year goes on, we see revenues coming in stronger than we projected, and then we're able to invest more in the community. As Mr. Dunning mentioned, there are a lot of expansions we weren't able to get to, so hopefully these come in stronger. But right now we felt it was more ideal to be slightly cautious, just with general uncertainty in the economy. And here's a trend showing, one caveat I would put on 2024 is that year had a sale of property about $2.8 million, and we also had a large transfer from our Violence Against Women Act grant. And so that brought us up to almost $101 million. If you take those out, our revenues were actually 97.2 if you take out those one time. And so it fits more into the trend of increases overall. We were at 4%, 6%, and then 1%. So. And I will pause there for any questions on the revenue side before I turn it over to Rick Gentry for the expense side on general fund.
Okay, no questions right now. We'll probably have some at the end. Thanks.
Good evening, Rick Gentry, Budget Manager. All right, now we're just move over from revenues to expenditures. Take a moment to kind of do a little bit of organizational change management. Mr. Dunning mentioned earlier, Workday is in the process of implementation and conversion in the cities. We prepare for the FY26 fiscal year. So you're going to see some things presented a little bit differently than you have in the past. And one of those things you'll recognize on this slide is at the bottom of the table, there's a citywide line. In the past, that those expenses have been included in mostly in the finance department, which has kind of made the finance department budget look rather large and volatile as it's varied from year to year as where all those transfers when we do those investments of the unallocated general fund balance at times. So we've pulled those out of the finance line, so that's bringing them in line to what their true expenses are historically, and as well as a few other things. And we'll see a slide later in the presentation and see what those citywide general fund expenditures are. So this is our trend for the FY23-24 actuals and 25 budget and 26 budget. Next, we're going to look at the comparison of the 25 budget to the 26 budget. With the inclusion of the 4% increase, pay increases for the core general staff, step movement for the represented groups on their agreement plans and their steps, and increase with the retirement. Overall, we have a modest 3% increase in our general fund budget overall. A lot of departments kind of went back and did some, looked at their numbers, sharpened their pencils, and were able to beat that 3% target by reviewing their expenditures and needs. In finance, we were able to go back and identify some things. Some of our, for example, our bank contracts renewed this year. We're doing it off our fees off our interest earnings versus paying the fees, so that has gone significant decrease in our cost in finance. And it's also reflects our current operating budget of $97.6 million with the $15 million removed that went to investment. The citywide expense category. This is what we kind of pulled out of finance. You guys see, so these are things just not citywide, but for the general fund across the organization that are funded by the general fund. Our internal ITS overhead, that's for, to support 680 staff in the general fund and their devices and network. The insurance adjustment, bad debt. The insurance adjustment, that's our, think of your adjustment. What we charge for an ambulance call versus what we get paid by from insurance or Medicare. And then bad debt, that's the actual debt that we are not able to collect. Mr. Dunning talked already about the transfer for Workday and this expansion request. The Jackson Cass County tax collection, that's for our property tax collection each year. That's costs about $535,000 to collect the $32 million that we'll see come into the general fund for the general fund for property taxes. Ground emergency medical transport, that's the program that we participate in. We pay into the program, and a couple of lines down as a consultant we pay to help support that program. So we report accurate information of what our expenses are to the program. So we pay in approximately $600,000 in the springtime, and then in this summer, usually June, we usually receive the payment back for that to help offset some of our losses due to Medicare and Medicaid transports, and we'll usually get about $1.5 million back. So it's about $1,900,000 to $1 million realization back to the city. Then the election cost, that was an administrative charge that we pulled out to the citywide because that is something that is truly across the city. Green Street operations. This is where the operations, general fund is putting some support into the project across the street for the operations. That includes the utilities, trash service, the paying part of the new expansion request for the facilities maintenance worker. And the other half that will be paid out of the Central Building Services fund moving forward. And then the bottom item is the vacancy savings. So in the past, we've put this vacancy savings in each department because we know we're not going to be fully staffed the entire year. Retirements come up, people move, and different vacancies occur for different reasons. So we do recognize that vacancy throughout the year, those vacancies, as well as some of our cost because of the way we calculate our budgeting for our health insurance. So we do budget on the high side for that, and we have some area there. So that's where we kind of put that number into offset so we can achieve a balanced budget. And then here you can see the trends of what we saw earlier from the first slide that Mr. Dunning showed of the revenue and expenditures. This is the historical 22, 23, 24, and 25, 26 budgets. As you can see, we strongly support the public safety from 55 to 59% of the budget annually, around 30% of it being the general operations, which is admin, HR, finance, law, and then public works being the 12 to 16%. Now we kind of take all those numbers, shake them up, and turn around, and this is kind of looking at how our expenses go out the door and what they're spent on. Personnel expenses, obviously $64 million, that's over 64% of our budget. So that includes the pay increase, the loggers increase, the insurance increase, and the pay raises for all of the represented groups, supplies and other materials. So we can look at the comparisons here going down slightly as our bad debt collection has gone down the last couple of years. We budgeted a lower amount for that because our collection or billing agency is doing a much better job being timely and reporting those and recording those. So that is reduced, as well as the banking fees reductions. Other items are going up modestly. Utilities, we're going to see an increase there because we are bringing the police substation online, so we have those utility costs coming online. Not the Green Street, the Joint Operations Facility will have some utilities there as it comes online at the end of the year as well. The capital outlay and interest, that is the two leases for the fire pumper trucks and the ambulance purchases, those principal and instrument interest payments. And the interdepartment charges, that is those internal service charges that are paid to the fleet department, ITS, and Central Building Services. And the transfer outs, those are just the general transfers going to the expansion requests for the workday, the VERP payments that go from the general fund to the VERP fund, as well as the, let's see here, we had one other one here. Oh, that was it. That was all. Include that in there. So with that, you can see, general fund, it's very personnel heavy, as in, so we're 64% of it because we are people organizations, service organizations. So 64% is our largest piece of the pie there. And this goes toward the organization, which are our most important resource, which is our people. Any questions on expenditures on general fund?
Keep going, sir.
All righty. So now we'll turn it back over to Eric and move on to the other funds.
We're getting closer. So here are the special revenue funds, and so these are the funds that have specific revenue sources that require separate accounting for legal or regulatory reasons. The two largest funds in this category are parks and public safety sales tax. I'll touch on public safety sales tax in more detail here in a minute. For the Parks Fund, some of the larger projects included in this is they have a big one for park development. Legacy Lake Dredge is supposed to be completed in FY26. They have funding in their budget for the design phase of the field house. Another thing to note in their budget is that minimum wage is increasing from $13.75 to $15 an hour, which will have an impact on their personnel cost. Business and Industry Fund, I'll touch on that in more detail here in a moment as well. Road and Bridge Escrow, I want to highlight this because it is a new one for the FY26 budget. This is a contribution from Hunt Midwest for the construction of the Mouse Creek Trail near Hook Farms development. And then Post-Closure Trust Fund, that's landfill expenses, so mostly professional fees related to regulatory and compliance needs, maintenance, some utilities. Grants and settlements, that contains our Violence Against Women grant, Community Development Block Grant, and then it also includes the opioid settlement that we get money for. The opioid settlement all goes to the city's Safe Passage program. Do want to note, we talked about this in Finance and Budget Committee, but the VAWA grant, we have been told that we will not get funding past September 30th, and so the budget only goes from July 1st through September 30th for that grant. CDBG, we have been told that we will get the same funding allocation as we got in FY25. After that, it is uncertain, but for the moment, we're getting the same amount. And we work with organizations such as Lee Summit Social Services, Coldwater, Hope House on that, and distribute it in the community. And then another new addition for FY26 is the Green Street operations. So this budgeted expense is for custodial services, Christmas lights, programming. It also has the salary for the facilities and events manager, and then partial salary for the facilities maintenance worker. So going into public safety sales tax a little bit, just showing their revenue sources. So they rely on sales and use tax. These numbers mirror what we're expecting in the general fund, so 2.5% growth for sales and use tax. And this just shows FY23 was the first year we started collecting for public safety sales tax. And so you can see the huge ramp up in 24 and then steady growth thereafter. And so here's a look at their expense trend going back to FY23, which is when we started collecting, and it's just been ramping up. I will note in FY25, we had about a $3 million transfer out for communication upgrade out of their fund balance. So that's what makes that number close to 18 million, which skews it a little bit. But other expenses in the FY26 budget, the chiefs will come down and talk a little bit more about their expansion requests that are in the budget, but have some analytics software, some wellness assessments, tools and equipment, and then a lot of personnel, as you will see coming up. So personnel makes up the vast majority of the public safety sales tax. So when in the FY23 budget, we started with a total of 34 positions in public safety sales tax. With the FY26 budget, we are at 67 positions in the PSST fund. Interdepartment charge, that's IT overhead charge. As we get more people, there are more IT needs, and so that gets distributed out. And as I mentioned, you saw general fund, we're about 64% personnel. PSST is 81% currently, so very personnel heavy in the public safety sales tax fund. And I will turn it over to Chief Snyder and Chief Forbes to discuss these expansion requests.
Good evening, Mike Snyder, Fire Chief. Have 4 expansion requests for the fire department contained within the public safety sales tax, and then I'll turn it over to Chief Forbes for his. The first item on that list is one that I've been working on for several years. This is to upgrade our communication technology in our cave system on the north side of town. I will tell you that this is what we believe to be the maximum exposure for the project, and that will bring our radio system that we installed throughout the city into the cave system by installing bidirectional amplifiers. It is our goal, as we've been working with the management staff of that facility, that they do some cost sharing, but that has changed over the years multiple times, and this is definitely a need that we need to address much sooner than later, as we currently are utilizing our old and aging system within the cave system. So we're going to continue those discussions. Again, I hope this is the maximum exposure, or I know that's maximum exposure, and I hope that it's much less as we partner. The second item on there is our Knox secure storage system. So those of you not familiar, we have what's called Knox boxes on many of our buildings throughout the community, privately owned facilities, so that we can gain access into them or the sprinkler rooms when nobody is on site. Those keys are maintained in our vehicles, and we want to provide a more secure and better accountable system to provide that security for those keys. And in addition, we're also partnering with them, if approved, to bring our narcotic storage in the ambulances under the same exact system, so we can program those remotely. Today, if we have an employee change, we have to go out to each vehicle and update those, and this will allow it to be done wirelessly, which will be a huge time saving for staff. The third item on there is just a standard replacement item, but the technology continues to improve. Today, we have stair chairs on our ambulances. That allows us to get patients moved up and down stairs within their residence or facility. They are now powered, decreasing the possible injury to our staff as the stair chair will do the work for them. This would replace them on all of our ambulances. And then the final one, if you don't recall, in 2019, the city did a communication study of police and fire emergency communications. This is just us continuing down that path of hiring additional staff to support the work that they do in the Fire Communications Center. You'll note the asterisk. We currently have several vacancies that I'm very excited to say that we're in the process of filling right now. But we know that the training period for those new employees takes approximately 9 months. So this would be towards the end of the fiscal year that we would hire these 2 additional staff. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Forbes.
All right, thank you.
Mayor and members of council, Travis Forbes, the police chief. I thought the officers were here to support me for these 2 line items, but I see a lot of them left, so I guess that's not true. No, the items we have here really directly relate to our general fund expansions, as Mr. Dunning referred to earlier. We're really doing a major restructuring in the police department. Since I've been here a little over 10 years, we've added approximately 30 police officers, and we have not expanded command staff. So it's gotten a little difficult. I always worry about whether or not we're top-heavy as far as command staff goes. We're nowhere near top-heavy, especially compared to our competitor agencies or the ones around us. And we just really saw a need to create a major and a captain position. Years ago, we did have 4 divisions in the police department. We consolidated that to 3, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, creating the deputy chief position that we have today. So this is really kind of going back to that old system, but restructuring it a bit to creating 2 divisions out of our administrative division and shuffling the deck a little bit more, with the overall purpose to enhance 2 areas significantly: our recruitment and hiring and our training. We've really poured a lot of resources into that, but it's been a big struggle to get that off the ground. Recruitment, we've had 14 to 15 vacancies over the past 3 or 4 years. It's been very difficult to get past that number. It's not a huge number. When I talk to other chiefs, they're kind of jealous about that number still, but we passed this public safety sales tax, and we really want to get those boots on the street for the people who expect them. So this would create a major over a division with far fewer responsibilities and a captain to have the time to spend more resources in that area. and also our training area. We're hiring more folks. We're using a lot more technology. We're training people to higher standards. And as you can see, one of the items here too is a virtual reality training system. So we're creating personnel or lessening the burden on personnel who wear multiple hats and run our training. We're also implementing training systems like VR to more effectively train our officers to handle any encounters they may have on the street. So any questions? If not, I'll give it back to Eric.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Moving into the Business and Industry Fund. So this is a fund that receives revenue from the hotel motel tax. It is used for economic purposes, and this is where most of our public service agreements live. So these new numbers, these public service agreements were agreed to recently. All of these numbers in the FY26 budget are related to that with the Downtown Main Street, Economic Development Council, and then the Visitors Bureau. The administrative fee is the fee for general fund handling administrative tasks, and that discount expense is the 2% discount that they receive for timely payment. And so this shows the projected revenues and expenditures. And so for FY25, we're pretty much right on line with that 620,000 in revenues. For FY26, we're anticipating a pretty significant increase due to planned hotels coming online, the World Cup coming, and then also the Visitors Bureau getting up and running and seeing the results of that. We still do think it'll be a deficit spend in FY26, but that was known when these agreements, and we had built up a pretty significant fund balance. I think our projected fund balance at the end of FY27, which would be the final year of these PSAs, is still $870,000. So we have a healthy fund balance in the Business and Industry Fund. The TIF and TDD, this is more just for transparency purposes, but these are just related to the TIF and TDDs that are approved by City Council. We collect the money, pay it back out. You can see some fluctuations with some of the newer developments just as they become more mature and bring in more money, but the expenses here are mainly professional fees, pilot disbursements, and EATS disbursements. Earlier tonight, we had the CIP presentation. Many of those projects flow into this capital project funds. The two I did want to just highlight, just because they look a little weird, is the water tap and the sewer tap being $0 for FY26. There aren't any FY26 projects for those funds, but there are current projects and there will be future projects. These projects are just larger scale projects, and so they build up funds and then they attack these projects one at a time. So there will still be future projects for water tap and sewer tap. It's just how the project schedule played out for the FY26 budget. And here are the remaining ones. For parks, some of the largest projects here are the field house. There's a pickleball complex. Safety Town is in here, and then various other parks improvements. Would note in the park development fund, FY26 will be the first year for the park impact fee. It's not funding any of these FY26, but it will be used for future capital improvement projects. For general government capital projects, this big one here is the communications upgrade for public safety. And then I will go into the no tax increase bonds here in more detail in a second, but you can see our capital projects total just shy of $128 million. So just highlighting the progress that we've made on the no tax increase bond so far. So these are the completed bond projects. Fire station number 7 had its roof replaced. The City Hall HVAC system was aging and inefficient, and so it has been replaced. City Hall access control, kind of the same story, provide additional security here. And then the History Museum had its exterior renovation. This was mainly brick enhancements, brick restoration. And then some of these you've seen already, but these are the in-progress bond projects. We have the police substation set to open later this summer, the joint operations facility, which will open next summer, phase 2 of police and court renovation. You have Hangar 2 opening up, and then other hangar improvements. There's been some City Hall sidewalk replacements been happening, and then Mr. Dunning had touched on Workday and that going into effect in FY26, which is a big project. Here's a look at our general obligation debt service. You can see in FY26, we are planning to deficit spend. The big reason here is we have a large principal payment due this year of about $14.4 million. After FY26, our debt schedule lessens by a significant amount. We'll note that there's currently plans in place and discussions because we will have to issue additional bonds for some of the other NTI projects. So our future debt schedule will change slightly, but there are discussions and project timing happening in the future and with our financial advisor. Now we get to the enterprise funds. So these are our business-like funds. Water utilities is the biggest. Most of the increase that water utilities is seeing is just the cost of doing business. They buy and resell water, the price has gone up, and then treatment of wastewater. They've also had an increase in their transfers out this year. That transfer out all goes to construction funds. So a lot of improvements going on with water utilities. The airport, the big thing here is it's a year of rebranding with the airport now being Kansas City Lee Summit Regional Airport. Also, the World Cup will be a heavy one, a lot of marketing being done for that. The airport's also taking steps to be a customs and border patrol port of entry for the World Cup. So just a lot of marketing expense, getting the new brand out there, and then getting ready for the World Cup. Solid waste management, this is just the depreciation expense on the fund. Recreation fund, this looks a little bit different than it has in years past. In years past, Parks and Recreation had listed all of their community centers separately. With the move to Workday, it was decided to clean it up a little bit, have it roll up into this one recreation fund. So this includes all of the community centers that Parks has. One thing I'll note is Lovell Community Center investing about $180,000 in FY26 for new fitness equipment and flooring. So improvements coming to Lovell Community Center. And then the stormwater utility. So this is just the balance that's in this fund. We did the whole amount just to authorize the whole amount. The money was put in there for a previous study. I know there's still stormwater discussions going on, and so that money could be utilized. But there's no current plan for that 295. It just allows the spending authority to be used. And this just shows the difference from year to year. And as I mentioned, the big one in water utilities is just the cost of doing business and more money for their construction fund. And here's a look at the enterprise expansions for the airport. They have two aircraft tugs for this year, which will help be more efficient in transporting aircraft. They currently don't have equipment for aircraft specific, and it'll also allow them to tug heavier aircraft. And then the snowbox pusher, just getting things back up and running during snowstorms more efficiently. And then the increase in part-time hours. This is just related to increased operations at the airport. And so more activity going on, they need more hours to help. And then water utilities, they have three. Sewer AI would utilize AI to code existing condition assessments for their sewer mains, just improving efficiency again. The jetting machine, that allows them to jet sanitary sewer in remote locations. And then that truck that allows for inspections and condition assessments. And then finally, internal service funds. So these, as Mr. Dunning mentioned, are the funds that service general operations. So we have CBS, more facilities maintenance. We have a lot of facilities coming online in FY26. We have Green Street coming online, the substation, the JOF, and then just general facility maintenance. And so that's the reason for the increase in FY26. Fleet is actually going down. This one varies from year to year, but we just have fewer replacement vehicles planned for FY26. That's the main reason for the drop, is related to capital outlay. IT, the big one here is Workday, as we've talked about. We also went live with Microsoft 365 recently. Every year we're adding more technology, and so the costs just keep going up on that one. And then I'll show the year-over-year difference. For short-term disability, I will note, since that's a 24% increase, what we're seeing there is just an upward trend in actuals in past years, and then also an increase in employees overall to account for the short-term disability. And then the top three here, you've seen already. The way we typically handle internal service expansions is the general fund covers the first year of the expansion cost, and then it rolls into the overhead cost in subsequent years. The other one I'll mention is the applications administrator. So this is an IT position, but will support water utilities specifically. So water utilities has a lot of applications for utility billing, meter reading, backflow management software, and so this position will focus on that, which will open up additional resources within IT to help on other projects that they have. And I'll pause there for any questions on the other funds before turning it back over to Mr. Dunning to wrap up.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're on the final stretch. I thought it'd be helpful to circle back on some of the things that we as an organization are planning or in the process of implementing. And so we've talked about World Cup, right? We recognize the responsibility that we have as an organization to prepare the community and be a leader in this space. We know the chamber's playing a big part too, but we have a big part in that as well. And so that's on our minds. We'll be scheduling some discussions with you all to get you plugged in that space as we proceed into the next fiscal year. I've already mentioned the communication strategy. Charter Review Commission will be starting that process. Election orientation and onboarding. Green Street is not just completion of the brick and mortar, but that's the ongoing operations programming, keeping that space active over there. Joint operations, similarly, it's not just completion of a facility. We're putting in place all the operational side of things that a new facility will bring, including emergency operations types of efforts. City Hall renovations, that's a no tax increase bond issue project that we will start in on the planning side of rethinking City Hall. We've been in City Hall since 2006. And the organization has changed tremendously since then. And so how can we better utilize this space? That was supported in that no tax increase bond issue. As we work on and put in motion the council priorities, and with an April 26 election, we owe it to the elected officials to look at our strategic plan again and just think what's down the road, what should we be focused on next as we hopefully get quite a ways down on those other priorities. Economic development's a big one, right? We know we can easily throw SLR, PRI properties in there, but it's not just that those properties. There's a lot of other economic development opportunities in Lee Summit. We've talked about the Visitors Bureau, and they're evolving and becoming I'll say an engine for the city, and we have responsibilities in those spaces. Boards and commission support with the Cultural and Wellness Commission efforts in motion. Of course, you can throw the Charter Review Commission in there as well. I mentioned emergency operations. And then we're working on building and fire code updates. It's become every 6 years in the region. You look to update your building code. So that's a pretty heavy lift that's in motion right now that we're working on as well. Workday we've talked about. That's just a phase one of Workday that we'll flip that switch with our fiscal year, but there's more to come on that. We've talked about ASR initiatives. Safety and risk management is one that we're going to put some efforts towards, and how do we approach that? Because that's a big lift from a budget perspective, and asking ourselves how can we do better in that space. I mentioned GIS strategy, records retention is one. Looking at so this is our ERPs, our vehicle, we call them VERPs, MERPs, BURPs. It's what is our replacement cycle for it, and how are we charging that out? Same thing with internal services. We want to take a deeper dive into those spaces. We will have labor negotiations going on, 365. You can see the rest of those. So we have a lot on our plate is kind of what I'm trying to represent here. And I wanted to, kind of forecast this as to what is on our minds as an organization as we go about our work over this next fiscal year. So in my mind, it's not just doing the day-to-day things that we do to maintain the services that we provide to this community. We've got a lot that we're looking to improve on, and initiatives that we want to advance further as we approach this next fiscal year. Kind of a closing slide. You heard Eric mention the uncertainty. So we did pursue this budget in a conservative approach. And so here's thoughts on our minds about what if things don't come through like we had hoped, right? We do have some levers that we can pull here. One of the things that we do and we have done successfully is look at as whether through attrition or retirement or somebody leaves a position, we put in place a vacancy analysis, and we ask ourselves, okay, we just lost a building inspector. Do we see that growth continuing on, or should we take a pause and say, where might we go with this, and rethink that? So those are some of the, what you see, the bullet points there are some of those levers that we can utilize. But we do think that we do this well quarterly to actively monitor our budget, but we can amp that up even more and just put in place a monthly monitoring of our budget as we work through this environment of uncertainty. So wanted to close on this slide that, you know, this is a plan that we put in place. And as we work the plan, it's my philosophy that the plan changes over time as things present themselves, and we should be open to amending the plan. And that's what we do through budget amendments. So this really is no different than previous years, just kind of acknowledging going into uncertain time. We're in uncertain times, and we will continue to monitor and adjust as we see data coming at us. So with that, this is the budget public hearing, and I know want to provide time for any members of the public that wish to comment on this, but we'll stand for questions. I do want to thank Chair Shields. I know she couldn't be here this evening, but she spearheaded this through Finance and Budget. I want to thank the Finance and Budget Committee for all the time they've spent. They put in extra time to help us with this. Of course, management team, our budget team, and then all of our budget techs in every department that help us pull all this together. It's a heavy lift every year, but it's an important one, and it takes us a lot of time. But hope that you see that we've put a lot of thought to this, and looking forward in what we anticipate in the coming year. So with that, Mayor and Council, I'll stand for questions, and any of our staff are available as well.
All right, thank you. Questions from Council? Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a really simple question. The franchise revenue was declining. Why?
It's predominantly the telephone and the cable. You may have heard me mention that used to be our third largest revenue stream, but with, we'll call it cutting the cords, those revenues have declined over time. While, you know, as the city grows, the electric and the natural gas incrementally grow, but the cable and telecom are not growing at that same, they're declining.
Because of streaming?
Yep.
I'm guessing?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. That's all I had. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from Council? I saw the Business and Industry Fund is still strong and healthy, but I don't think we talked about the fund balance, general fund.
The general fund balance?
Yeah.
I think we didn't talk, we don't have a slide on it? Okay. Well, I will tell you this, we are still in accordance with our policy, right? So anything over 35% provides us opportunities to think about how might we invest in that.
Right.
So we anticipate finishing the fiscal year 25 in that opportunity zone.
Okay, above 35%.
Above 35%.
Okay. Because that's always been a question. And then we were able to, because we were in that situation last year, we were able to deficit spend and spend, well, it's in a healthy way, put it towards different projects and such.
That's correct.
Investments.
Yeah. Well, I would say strategically invest that in the community, right? Rather than issuing debt and servicing debt, right? Those are strategic investments.
Yeah. I guess I was interested in, I see Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I won't say a whole lot other than I'm sure Chairwoman Shields would want to acknowledge and thank Mr. Dunning and his team for all of your efforts of making this process as user-friendly and transparent, always transparent for us on the Finance Committee, Finance and Budget. I know there's a lot of unknowns, and I know we discussed that quite a bit on Finance and Budget, not knowing exactly what the economy is going to be doing. But I know there's a lot of thought put into this, Mayor and fellow council members. But, you know, we've experienced high growth in sales taxes for multiple years, consecutive years, and that's the part that I know we're being super conservative this year with the 3%. And so just something that I like our approach of being conservative and being able to be flexible along the way. So just on behalf of the committee, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just along those lines, if you want to go to slide 14, if you don't mind.
Might be easier to do it this way.
So there's the projections and growth. And we've had, I mean, I've been here long enough now that we've had some crazy good years, also had a not so good year. But so these, we've been averaging more than that on the sales tax in the past. But I do see a slowdown. I mean, we didn't increase 3% hardly last year, or the year before, I don't think. And then Mr. Dunning, did you include, or Mr. Stoyanov, did you include the use tax in the sales tax on this slide?
That's correct. It's all rolled up into the sales
So we're bringing
tax.
in $2.5 million or more on the use tax, which is fantastic. That's another citizen-approved, voter-approved initiative that we were really losing. If you think about it, $2.5 million a year over 5 years, that's, well over $10 million. That's $12.5 million. So it's been a real boost, along with the public safety sales tax and things like that.
Yep.
There's a lot of details here, and I know that finance and budget's really vetted this, but just it's the city manager's budget. So what's been the biggest challenge? I know that we've had all this growth, and we've been able to confidently go into the next year, knowing kind of where we were going to land, and then sometimes it exceeded that. What's been the biggest challenge this year?
Well, I would say on the property tax side, that's an area of uncertainty, right? Just not knowing how those are shaping up. So that still continues in this budget year, right? With the senior tax credits and not knowing exactly how that's going to work and what the impacts. And then, of course, this year too with the federal government in that grants area and some of these partnerships that we've created, just level of uncertainty there too. That's a effort that we, quite honestly, tomorrow, a management team, we're going to take a deeper dive into those spaces just to start to categorize those partnerships and say, is this at risk? Do we hear it's okay, or it is okay? And start to think through it in those lights so that we can start planning for that as well. So that's probably what's on my mind a lot, is just as we think about our resources, what do we need to be planning for?
Well, one more revenue question, and then we'll go to the other. But what was the public safety sales tax revenue for the year, or projection?
I believe it's just over 14 million.
14 now?
Let's see if I can
Is
get
that right?
that slide.
Okay. Mr. Stoyanov says that's correct.
Okay.
So we're at 14 million on that. So that's nice. That's a boost to help us keep up with the growth as well. Okay, on the on the other side of this, on the expense side, I do appreciate the way you did the strat plan, mission, vision. You're incorporating all that in. It's a $100 million budget. And 380 million when you count all the other revenue and expenses, the budget for the other special funds. So, and then Mr. Park was up here, big picture stuff. He was up here saying we're going to spend $792 million over the next 5 years on CIP. So we're spending literally $150 million a year on roads and construction and infrastructure. So there's just a lot of money flowing. So you guys are managing, a tremendous amount. I do appreciate, you working close with finance and budget. Do you feel like you started early enough this year? It seems like the finance and budget committee feels like they really vetted it this year, because I've been up here long enough to know that how finance and budget feels about things long before we get to this meeting. And I haven't got that kind of, I've just got a lot of confidence from them that they feel like they've got to dig deep this year. So did you do something different this year?
Well, we did I'll say expedite the budget process this year intentionally. A lot of that was connected back to implementation of our Workday,
The software?
the software, right? To line that so that when, I always say, when we flip those switches, right, is everything matched up? So we did take some, we really just expedited the entire process and pushed it hard to
Okay.
get through to this point. So that's probably some of it, Mayor.
Okay. When you say you implemented Workday, can you be more detailed with that?
Sure. So think our hiring processes, right? All the documentation that's needed for that. Think of as employee data changes, right?
When did you make the transition?
We haven't
gonna
made
say,
it yet.
yeah.
Right? We're doing a lot of testing right now to
Okay.
test data conversion from our, we call it our Lawson system. So just tons of time that staff has committed to make sure that we get this right. Think our payroll, right? As we run payroll, our time and attendance tracking, and all those systems plug into an ERP system, asset management, if you will. Financial data, running reports, all those kinds of things are plugged into this ERP system. So it's a significant initiative that is extremely important to get right.
Okay. So then on the expense side, sorry, I don't mean to bring up, something like this, but I just need to make sure I understand it and everybody understands it. Jackson Cass County collection, 535,000 expense category. Can you make sure we understand what that is?
You bet, and I'll phone a friend on this one
Yeah, get Rick up here, Mr. Gentry up here.
with the details.
I mean, I know we spend a lot of money. I mean, I know we have to account for all the money and such. I'm guessing this is payroll type of expenses? Oh, I'm sorry, it's slide 18.
There it is. Yes, so the Jackson Cass County collection, that is the collection administrative fee that you think of it, that all counties charge when they collect property taxes. That's their administrative fee they charge for the collection of the fees and to pay for their operations of the office.
So say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here'd be a good way to think about it, Mayor. You saw when we did the business and industry fund that we have an administrative fee. So that's what we charge to collect those revenues and then to administer that. That's the county as they do
I got you.
tax collection. Then they assess us a fee, but we
Right,
realize the revenue.
right, so we can get our money, our tax revenues. Hopefully get our money. I'll stay here, Mr. Gentry. We're on expenses. Is this the first year you've listed the category expense on the vacancy this way, on the bottom of the spreadsheet?
Yes, sir. Yes, this is the first time we've listed that. In the past, we've put that in, so that whole citywide is something that used to be distributed. A big part of it was in the finance department, but the vacancy savings, we distributed across the departments based upon historical savings. So, for example, the police department, they'll typically have a savings in their communications and some of their officers, so we'd have some there in finance, development services, so. But this year, we just put it into one place. That way, we can kind of start seeing more transparently what the departments cost.
Right, I like it. I think it's fantastic, but I just want to make sure I understand how it flows through the budget. So you're showing it as a negative, as in it's a savings because it's an expense. So you're more accurately depicting what the budget's going to be, but you still budgeted for those salaries, didn't you?
Yes, we typically budget for a position. For example, the CBS expansion on that list, that's budgeted at the full year.
Right.
But it may be, the fall or even by winter when they hire.
Yeah, so you're accounting for the time that it's going to take to get people hired, put in place over the next year. That's what that savings is.
Yes.
Okay, you're not counting on vacancies. You're saying we have vacancies that we budgeted for in full. However, there's a time lapse that before we're going to be able to get them on the payroll.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Dunning, when you look at the expenses, do you does your staff look at it in terms of percentages? You provide it in terms of percentages to us. Do you use that as best practices, or from year to year, or looking at other municipalities, or how do you, because I know the chief was talking about if they're top heavy or not. He's obviously making sure he's looking around at his other municipalities and such, and comparing. Are you guys doing the same in-house?
We do generally. I can tell you we're doing a better job. The budget team has built a pretty phenomenal dashboard that we can look year to year with our expenses and just say, okay, what did we say we were going to need last year? What did we utilize last year? What's that data telling us? Those kinds of things. So we've got some pretty good dashboards where we can track our expenditures, see our trends and things of that nature. And Mayor, Eric just provided me the general fund balance, 34.1 million. Now we'll recalculate that as we do our year-end fiscal year 25. Yep.
That's good. Thank you. Okay. Well, on the TIF TDD funds, when it shows the changes and the differences, slide number 32, is that like you see a big jump there for Streets of West Pryor. You see Summit Woods go down. What's the rationale there for why they're?
Yep. So as Summit Woods continues to develop out, and as they think about those new businesses that just opened, restaurants and things of that nature.
Streets of West Pryor.
Streets of West Pryor.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Then those
Revenues,
reimbursements will go up.
the revenues keep going up.
Right. So if I were to think of Summit Woods East, Summit Fair,
East.
that's
That's Summit Fair.
Summit Fair.
Yeah, they
right.
have had some vacancies and such.
Yeah, those representing just some vacancies
Okay.
there.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. And then I just would say, wow, we got a lot going on with the bond projects and the in progress. Oh my goodness, police substation, joint operations center, hangar, court renovation. My goodness. There's just, you guys are busy.
Yes.
So appreciate all that you're doing.
We're good busy.
And I do appreciate the finance and budget. I really feel good about the way you guys, the committee's doing things. I know that there's been years I've really questioned. I started off with the projections. I've questioned, how consistent those were, because it doesn't really help us to be off on our budget at the end of the year, where we, are too conservative, or I don't think we're typically not conservative. I just think sometimes I just want to be realistic so that we can show a true picture. Just like the vacancy, showing the vacancy, that's much more, makes much more sense to account for that rather than budget for it and at the end of the year, we have this money left over because of these vacancies that took time to fill. I mean, I think it's a much clearer picture of where we are, much better snapshot. So appreciate changes like that. So Thank you to everybody. Does anybody want to make any last questions? Okay, then let's keep going in the public hearing. Where am I? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor or in opposition or anything about this presentation from the public? Okay, any additional questions from council? Mr. Dunning, any further comments, sir? All right. Hearing no further testimony, I'm closing the public hearing and reopening the regular session. Is there any council discussion on this presentation? All right. Then we'll go right to, we've got a few to read. We've separated these out, a few of these out. So first we have simply an ordinance approving the fiscal budget. And then we're going to pull out some of the employment, things related to employment, so that council members can recuse if they need to. So, Councilmember Funk, would you please start it off with reading bill number 25-089?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
I move to advance to second reading Bill number 25-089, an ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 for the city.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading. Bill number 25-089 by Councilmember Funk, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Bill number, or Councilmember Rader, would you please read Bill number 25-090?
Yes, Mayor. I move to advance to second reading Bill number 25-090, an ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 for the fire department of the city.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 25-090 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does pass 7-0 with one recusal. Next, thank you, everyone. Next, we have Councilmember Pryor. Would you please read Bill number 25-091?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to advance to a second reading Bill number 25-091, an ordinance approving, adopting, and appropriating the budget for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 for the Municipal Court Division of the city.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 25-091 by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It passes 7-0 with one recusal. Thank you. And Councilmember Lovell, would you please read Bill number 25-092?
I move to advance the second reading Bill number 25-092, an ordinance establishing a pay and classification plan for the employees of the city who are represented by a labor organization for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026.
Thank you. We have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 25-092 by Councilmember Lovell, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 7-0 with one recusal. Thank you. And there's one more. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 25-093?
Thank you, Mayor. I move Bill number 25-093, an ordinance establishing a pay and classification plan for employees of the city who are not represented by a labor organization for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026, be second read.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-093, to go to second reading by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And well done, everyone. A lot of work goes into that. A lot of time, a lot of money flowing. Just get 3rd Street done for me. That's what I need. I'm tired of 3rd Street being full of cones. No more orange cones on 3rd Street ever again after this year.
Yeah, right.
That promise?
Good luck.
No more AT&T, no more. All right. Okay. I think public comments, we have someone that would like to make public comments. That's where we are. Ms. Anderson, would you like to come forward?
Hi there, good evening. My name is Joanna Anderson, and I am one of the co-owners of Summit Play Village, a new business coming to Lee Summit, Missouri. And I'm here to share how difficult the commercial development process has been here in Lee Summit. Understanding what it was necessary to get a certificate of occupancy and open our doors is nearly impossible. The city website lacks clear, concise, consolidated guidance. Even working with Lee Summit Development Services, I struggled to get the information I need. I made countless phone calls, many unanswered, to understand just the basics. I want to publicly thank Joe Frog for helping me navigate parts of this process, but the level of support shouldn't depend on who you know or really how persistent you are. What made things worse is how the permitting system is structured. It assumes that I have a general contractor and architect managing everything from start to finish, which is simply not the case for many small businesses. My team didn't handle specialty services either. leaving me to manage those by myself. But without the ability to do things like release permits for a single trade like HVAC independently, my timeline was delayed an entire month while I tracked down a single vendor, when other work like framing could have moved forward. Even with engineering plans in hand, I didn't know what to ask. There's no clear guidance on licensed vendors, what expectations are for vendors, or even what inspections are required from those vendors. At one point, I made 17 phone calls to just the fire department before walking in just to get a basic answer about code and what I needed as far as fire alarms were concerned. And even then, my answers that I have are still vague. This process does not support business owners managing parts of their own build-out. When a contractor underperforms, as mine currently is, there's no guidance or way forward without a massive effort. When needing to make small changes, I'm not even allowed to do the work myself, even if it's to code. I urge the city to improve transparency with a high-level checklist, better online guidance, and a way to sequence inspections based off of readiness, not assumptions about who's managing the job. These changes would make a huge difference for the next generation of local small business owners. These delays have affected our income, added personal stress, and forced us to turn around excited families of business for almost 3 months. It feels like this current process is designed for developers and franchises with large teams, not for a small local owner who's investing everything that my partner and I have into this dream. So I would love to see just the City of Lee Summit have kind of a working group or feedback session to help shape just improvements around what could be done to make this a better process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments?
I've not received any additional
All right,
requests.
thank you. I'm going to forge ahead then, everyone. Okay. We're going to go to proposed ordinances forwarded from committee. Councilmember Hodges, would you please read Bill number 25-094?
I move to second reading Bill number 25-094, an ordinance approving a purchase by the City of Lee Summit from Municipal Emergency Services for structural firefighting gear in the amount of $301,469.84 and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to effectuate the same buy-in on behalf of the city.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading Bill number 25-094 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 8-0. Thank you. Councilmember Hodges, would you please read for adoption?
I move for the adoption of Bill number 25-094, an ordinance approving a purchase for the City of Lee Summit from Municipal Emergency Services for structural firefighting gear in the amount of $301,469.84 and authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to effectuate the same by and on behalf of this city.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25-094 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Rader. Discussion. Please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's unanimous. It's adopted. Thank you. We're going to go to proposed ordinances, second reading. Councilmember Funk, would you please read Bill number 25-083?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 25-083, an ordinance approving rezoning from District R1 NCO, single-family residential neighborhood stabilization overlay to District TNZ, Transitional Neighborhood Zone, and preliminary development plan on approximately 0.44 acres of land located at 100 Northeast Douglas Street, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 38 Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. I have a motion to move to second reading, Bill number 25-083 by Councilmember Funk, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes 5-3. Thank you. And then Councilmember Rader, would you please read the amended bill, number 25-085?
Yes, Mayor. I move for adoption amended bill number 25-085, an ordinance granting a special use permit renewal for a mini warehouse facility in District PI Plan Industrial on land located at 465 Southeast Oldham Parkway for a period of 15 years, all in accordance with the Article 6.
I'll tell you in a second. Okay, we have a motion to adopt bill number 25 dash. Did you finish it?
I didn't finish. I thought you were interrupting
All
me.
right,
Should I start over? Just continue. For Unified Development Ordinance for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25-085 as amended by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. I believe the other one was unanimous, and it was in the consent agenda. So this is the other one that wasn't unanimous. But it was a little tricky. Let's see. So motion by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's unanimous, 8-0. Thank you. And then that one's adopted. Councilmember Pryor, would you please read Bill number 25-087?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 25-087, an ordinance authorizing the use of a local cooperative purchasing contract for motor vehicles through the Johnson County, Kansas Metro Vehicle Bid Model Year 2025 contract, and authorizing the city manager to execute any documents necessary for the city to participate in the program.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to motion to adopt Bill number 25-087 by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It's also 8-0, adopted. That takes us to committee reports. Councilmember Lovell.
Hold on. Sorry. If you want to go to Councilmember Pryor.
Yes,
first,
Councilmember Pryor.
I thought I had this up.
No worries.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a Public Works Committee meeting last night, and I'm just going to read my summary. We discussed about the MoDOT sponsor a highway program. Essentially, we decided that we want to engage our local business community through the chamber to create more awareness about the program before we invest the money that it would take. Yeah, the taxpayer funds. And then we had continued discussions about the stormwater utility and defining what level of service should be developed. And we heard information about the Harris Park standpipe, which has not been used since 2011, and the intent to remove it because it will cost less to remove it than it will to maintain it and all of the money it takes, which is actually kind of interesting. It's the one right next to Summit Waves. It's been there forever. I think it was built like in 1960. Yeah, so that will be coming down. So I'm sure that there's going to be, we're probably going to get a couple of emails, but ultimately it's just not a good use of tax dollars anymore because it's just not usable. And the technology is pretty outdated. So it's called a standpipe. It's like a pipe that's standing, I guess. Maybe that's why it's a standpipe. But it is. Yeah. So it's that big water tower thing. So yeah, it's going to be coming down. It'll be fun for kids to watch, I guess. So thanks.
All right, thank you.
I'm ready.
All right, Councilmember Lovell.
Yes, it was yesterday. Legislative Intergovernmental Relations met. Not a ton to report, but we did have, there's one particular bill, HB 105, which includes the land transfer of the Highway Patrol building. This bill was truly agreed and finally passed in the Senate late yesterday after being approved for the House. And then the other one that was kind of relevant to us was HB 8. This bill is one of the budget appropriation bills and includes 2 line items for $1.5 million for the Joint Operations Facility and a second for the additional $2 million for the Joint Operations Facility. So the bill will head to the governor now for consideration. Now we just have to wait to see if it gets vetoed or if it makes it through, which I think we'll know by the end of June. Okay, and then I think the plan is to have our lobbyist come present in July 15th, which is the day after what was July 14th, the important date on July 14th.
The governor is required to act on all bills that were passed, either sign them, veto them, or not do anything with them, in which case they go into law by July the 14th. So the 15th is literally our first council meeting after that date, and it's the day
So
after.
we'll have a lot of certainty on that meeting July 15th as to how everything shakes out. So that's some good news. And we are We have really good, solid representation down there with boots on the ground that are going to keep an eye on what's going on with the governor and making sure that we're doing everything possible to see those get included. So it was a great meeting. And then CEDC will meet tomorrow at 4. Sorry, okay. At 4. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Okay. Council comments. Councilmember Lovell.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the recent public comments here, and I think it brings up some maybe good opportunities for us as a city. One of the complaints that I get periodically has to do with small business owners, whether it's repurposing a building. There's so much nuance that goes into that, and if there was an easier way or resource, is like just an excise tax. A lot of people might get into a building and don't know they're changing the use of that building, and that there might be a significant cost, and it could be a huge delta they don't know ahead of time. You may be required to put sprinklers in. You didn't know you had to do sprinklers. Now, a lot of that information is out there, but I think we're also, we do see a ton of big projects, right, where a landlord knows what they have to do or don't do. But if you're the business owner and you're kind of required to do that, an easier resource to do that, or if you're contracting it yourself, I do think there's an opportunity to really help guide that, because the truth is that there are a lot of small business owners that aren't going to be having the experienced general contractor or the experienced developer on some of these mass projects. And sometimes, as much information is in the website, it is very intimidating, very difficult to navigate if you don't know where you're going and what tabs to do. So maybe an opportunity there to I love a checklist, right? And kind of seeing the bogeys that are there ahead of time. Now, it does require the applicant or the person going through it to raise their hand and say, what do I need to do, and ask all those things, because a lot of times we get into stuff and then we're like, oh, whoopsie. But, it could be as simple as, having I know someone didn't get a permit because they needed to have a water fountain or something, like some sort of drinking water, like as one of the requirements. It's small, it's an easy fix, but you miss out on your CO because you need to have that and put that in. Anyway, I do think there's an opportunity for us to be better, especially for the small business independent operator or someone trying to contract or do the work themselves. So maybe an opportunity there. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to address that also. I'd say within the last 6 months, I've had 4 small businesses. Well, actually 3, because one of them has a long history with the city. But so 3 small businesses contact me just with concerns about the process. And also, if we're making any money on the cable services, it's Mayor Pro Tem's family, because they're the only ones I know that continue to use cable and not streaming. So.
We're transitioning.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Funk.
Thank you, Mayor. I missed this earlier in the budget comments, and I wanted to, she's not here tonight, Councilmember Shields and Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem and Mr. Dunning and the finance team did a great job in being my first time through the budget on the Finance and Budget Committee. They kind of slowed things down and taught me a lot of things through that process. So it was a great learning experience, and they did a great job. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Mr. Dunning, staff roundtable.
Yeah, under staff roundtable, there's a report in the packet. Speaking of the excise tax, also referred to as the license tax. Annually, as we brought on that license tax, the voter approved that in '97, there's a requirement to annually present that license tax committee report. So that's what's presented to you in staff roundtable for your review. And that's really all we got, Mayor. So.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, well, we don't get to adjourn. We need to read into second reading, or excuse me, we need to read into closed session. Oh my goodness. Who would like to do that?
Mayor.
Councilmember Rader.
Pursuant to Section 610.021.9 of the revised statutes of the state of Missouri pertaining to preparation, including any discussion or work product on behalf of a public governmental body or its representative for negotiations with employee groups. Oh, wait a minute. Did I read that right?
Yeah. Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to go into closed session by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Rader,
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges,
Aye.
Councilmember Lovell,
Aye.
Councilmember Funk,
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor,
Aye.
Member Carlisle,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez,
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for all your hard work.